Right here. Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday. You're probably wondering, why are Jay-Z and Andy talking on Tuesday? Well, we have started a new series on this book, Psychic Designing the Mind, the Principles of Psychitecture. We're reading this book for the Saturn-Neptune conjunction where you can design your mind. Don't let your mind get downtrodden with the Saturn-Neptune. Instead, design your mind. That's what, Jay-Z's idea was. So we are on page 13 right now. We're in chapter one. So I have this sentence underlined, Jay-Z. It's possible for you to alter your brain in ways that result in functional changes. Modern medicine has developed drugs and surgical procedures for treating diseases, disorders, and injuries to the brain. So, how much do you think people can alter their brain with drugs?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot. I mean that we have stories and experiences that other people have relayed in that. I mean, I've had stories and experiences that I've done and I definitely think that in my experience it's possible to use drugs to um open up to form new neural pathways in your brain by because the drugs kind of let free some of your inhibitions or usual patterns, and then that allows new patterns or thoughts or pathways to form. That said, I think that the results can be it's hard to determine the results. I think that's why you have like these like kind of guided explorations where you like take drugs, but you have somebody there kind of facilitating it, or you set an intention and there's the whole thing about set and setting. So you get yourself in the right frame of mind and you control your environment so things will kind of go the way you want them to go. And someone won't like, for example, someone else won't like bust in on your scene and then like ruin it for you, right? So you're trying to kind of achieve a certain result by setting it up beforehand.
Mm.
I think that maybe the way that this book is doing it, and this is kind of like what you're saying with Saturn. Saturn is all about like kind of rules and guidelines and calcifying a certain thing. Maybe this book is to explain to you how you use your mind to intentionally create certain intentional new pathways, not just anything that happened while you were like high on drugs.
Mm, interesting. Well, yeah, I have a few thoughts about the drugs thing. Like one of the things about astrology is that like no two people will ever have the same response to doing a drug, and I think that's the chart layer. It's like the drugs are a mere patina over the transits that you're going through into the natal chart. I mean, like, some people have hyper psychic charts and they smoke weed and they get like super psychic, and then other people have charts with 20 planets and earth signs and they smoke weed and they hardly feel it. And I think there is this like chart layer. And I do think that the drugs altering your brain kind of support the idea that the brain lives in the whole body, not just the mind. Because it's like you don't take a drug down your stomach and it only goes up to your mind. It like hits the whole body. And like I think that your mind kind of courses through the whole body. But I like what you're saying too, that there's this experience creation part of doing a drug is like if you do an ayahuasca ceremony, it's the people around you and the setting and the moment and the day and everything also that's psychedelic, not just the drug, and all, but all of it is the idea of doing drugs is that you're meaning to change your way of thinking, kind of. That's kind of what drugs are, a catalyst to change of thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you can do it in other ways too, like music, for example.
Mm,
Like right now, I have a three gong band that I'm in, the Gong Gang, and we do these sound baths, right? And so people are laying there. We do actually now we've gotten better and better at it too in our experiments so far, and then we evaluate like what could we do differently. And now we do a little intro to get people like in the right frame of mind before we get started. And then we explain to them what's going to happen and that kind of stuff. And then we play gongs, like three of us on three different gongs for 40 minutes. And then we lead them back out of it. And so I think that's part of like the set and setting. But from what people are relating back to us, they are having like changes in their uh, mind or vibe or experiences at that time, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah, totally interesting. Yeah, I've now that I'm sober, I mean, you and I are sober, and it's like you get you become a master of changing your experience and your mind frame without drugs, right? And it's always like, what activity am I doing in what location with what people? That's like the algorithm to change your thinking is like context, location, sounds, tones, that's all you can do is but you we could say like context is the is a hell of a drug. You know what I mean? Like I mean something like that, you know. So okay, healthy people can utilize also use technologies and practices to improve their brains. So this is kind of what we're saying is that you can also use certain practices like doing yoga every day would alter your brain, or practicing the piano, or crocheting as a practice or something could alter your brain. Is that how you see that one?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's fun to be like scientific about it and like try these different experiments.
Mm.
And I was telling you yesterday about my next impending experiment as soon as it arrives is standing on a vibration plate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then but no, for reals, this thing called TRE. Uh it's either trauma or tension releasing exercises. And you use there's like this whole thing that you do, and you shake your body, and shaking your body helps release certain patterns from the fascia.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, Casey Cardoso would always say that like memories and stuff get stuck in your fascia, and when she's doing massages on people, they get memories coming out and stuff like that. And so, you know, we look at that as like the Saturn spot, like it absorbs energy. Like you'll take energy in from a trauma, and it goes like right, and it sticks right in your Saturn spot, you know. And you have transits to Saturn, and you get like re-traumatized basically, and things like that. So he's talking about there's an entire movement called transhumanism, which is concerned with modifying the human body, brain, and mind and taking the evolution of human nature into our own hands. Um, he says the intellectual and cultural movement that affirms the possibility and desirability of fundamentally improving the human condition through applied reason, especially the developing and making widely available technologies to eliminate aging and to greatly enhance human intellectual, physical, and physiological capabilities. So, what do you understand as transhumanism?
Oh, yeah, like well, like what you just kind of recited. Transhumanism, Timothy Leary used to have this thing called SMILE, which was stands for space migration, intelligence increasing, and life extension.
Wow, you remember all that. Wow.
And that was back, yeah, because I read a bunch of his books, and man, he was really interesting too. Um, But yeah, I think it started back with those guys back then, like Robert Anton Wilson and yeah, Timothy Leary and those guys. Uh, but transhumanism, yeah, is about transcending human limitations.
So AI must be a big part of transhumanism currently with Pluto and Aquarius, like that where humans are half cyborg, or like you write a book and it's like you and the AI write the book and that's like transhumanistic.
Yeah, I think that that could fit in totally.
Hmm. Makes me think of those people who get tattooed into like looking like cats and they have like whiskers and stuff and it's like they is that transhumanism like where you like defy your human form and become something else?
Well, they would probably think so. Yeah.
It's anything that goes beyond human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if this is correct, but it sounds good to me.
He says, well, transhumanist thinkers believe that someday in the not so distant future, we will be able to augment the brain and mind in ways nearly inconceivable today. So it's like when you make the mind better, like being a psychitect is like you're trying to go beyond your human mind into a better mind, and so like it's transhumanistic in that way.
Beyond, I think, your default mind, like intentionally going beyond your limitations that you wouldn't exceed unless you actually concentrated on intention and working at and doing something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think too, the whole transhumanism and the like what you were saying about AI and also about like technology and how technology is increasing is so true. Like, I mean, if you look at someone who was born in 1900 and then the changes that they saw between 1900 and 2000, like, can you imagine, like before the telephone, before electricity in houses, before like all these things that we think are amazing. Then before clocks, like, or I don't know, watches, digital watches, and then before Palm Pilots,
Hmm.
before iPhones, and now before augmented reality, like on our cars, we are now having little displays show on our windshield, like the things that we saw in Star Trek, like a communicator that you would communicate to other people and talk to them
Hmm.
is would seem nuts. It would seem nuts to be standing on the street corner talking in a little thing to what? You're talking to yourself? Like,
Right. Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, like what's transhuman in any generation is going to be different. Like medical implants, like cochlear implants would be seen as transhuman at a certain, layer, but like now we're just like normalized those.
yeah, like a pacemaker, a stent,
Yeah.
like that they can now you can have like something that they have to put a stent into your heart and they put it in like through your wrist and somehow get it up there without even cutting you open. Like
Yeah, what the what? Yeah, yeah. Hey, I have to take a time out for a second and say, you know how we were talking about maybe not reading this every other week and not every week?
yeah.
I want to invite you on the other weekly shows if you want to interview our guests with me. You're always welcome on there. Like if you, but no pressure. You may have other things to do with your time, but I just wanted to say that you're
Oh
always
yeah, that's awesome.
because
Well, go ahead.
there's like shamans and the Barbara Ann Brennan healers and like all these like weird like esoteric people, psychics and stuff like that. It might be fun for you. Okay.
Oh yeah, that definitely sounds awesome.
Okay, what were you gonna say?
Oh, that because you know how on the dating apps, right?
Hmm.
And I put on my profile like transhumanism was like one of the things I said I was into. And I think maybe I'm just scaring everybody away.
They're like, I want to date a human, not a transhuman. But that makes me think of like transgenderism. Is that transhumanism? Because it's transitory humanism.
Well, I think it is. I mean, altering your body so that you're a different gender than the one that you were defaulted with. I would argue that that is transhumanism.
Yeah, yeah, it's a level to it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, so he says the most powerful way to improve the brain at this point in history is through its software, through your thoughts and actions. So he's saying that our thoughts and our actions are what will change our brain. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I further read the book, so I understand the case that he's building up to.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I do because it's that thing like so I just read this book called Atomic Habits. Have you heard of it?
Uh-uh.
Oh, well, it's a book about how you change yourself by changing like your small habits. So like say you want to I don't know, lose weight or something, then what you would do is you would start a habit of like exercising in the morning, first thing. Well, how do you support that by having like you just if you just do these little changes in your lifestyle, you can make big changes. And so
Mhm.
that's why they're called atomic habits. And then so you just do things like, oh, well, if you don't really always, if you say you want to jog every day, if you don't really feel like jogging every day, well, you make it easier for yourself to do that by like laying out your jogging clothes and your sneakers like right there. So it will be really easy. You make it easier for yourself to do those things. If you want to watch less TV, you unplug the TV every time you use it. So anytime you want to like turn on the TV, you have to intentionally go behind it and turn it, plug it in again. Anyway, so I do think that changing your actions can change your brain.
Interesting. Yeah, well, so I just started playing these classical music videos and we've had a big run of artists here at the Moira Press and it's like, sometimes in the creative process there's like micro tensions that come up and it's like, you know, before collaborating with anyone else, I want to do a series of classical music just solo videos because they like cleanse me from these micro tensions of just like there's no tension when it's just me playing a classical song and it's like something about the scales of classical music going running up and down and like it gives you like all these options in your mind. Like I do think that that does change my mind or change my brain to play a classical music song. Or like they say when you're
Mhm.
listening to classical music, people study better or like they're smarter or so I do think actions or what you expose your mind to can change your brain. And like, every book we read changes our brain. And they say once you learn something, you can't unlearn it. Like, so it's like, every time we learn in our day, I have to go through the sweep of my whole life and like apply what I learned to everything that's happened. And just like it's like it infiltrates everything. So like I think everything we learn changes our brain.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So he says neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to change and reorganize through the life of an individual, and this is crucial to our survival. I mean, can you imagine if we were acting the same as we did when we were two?
Yeah, yeah, that's nuts. Like, yeah, yeah, we have to learn new things. And yeah, I think resilience is what's most important. And resilience and I'd say neuroplasticity are, trend together.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, like, and I think, they say readers are leaders, and it's like you and I are like choosing to mold our brain every day, like actively, like we're 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 taking the plastic feature of our brain and like choosing to like sculpt it daily. And it's like I think some people change their brains faster than others. I mean, I think you can be kind of a stagnant person. You and I both have Mercury Urinuses, and so it's like there's this constant evolution of the mental process. Um, whereas like maybe a Mercury Saturn conjunction person has like less neuroplasticity. I mean, I don't know if I am allowed to say that, but maybe like I want to know if there's varying levels of, engagement in the plastic nature of the mind, or if it's like, does everyone evolve at the same rate, or I don't know what you think of that, but
Well, what do you think of the phrase you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
mm. Well, I think people say that when they don't want to change.
Yeah.
I think if you're gonna be like you were saying, some that like constant recalibration is part of like success. It's like if we don't constantly like when we're in a nursing home, we have to recalibrate our brain to be happy in that environment there. So we have to engage our neuroplasticity till the day we die, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that when you give up on wanting to learn new things and change and be plastic and resilient is when you die.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. They say anything that's not growing is dying. So,
Oh, yeah, interesting. You know, Andy, what I heard about I think just yesterday or the day before was that there's this thing, maybe you've seen it. It's like time-lapse photos of plants growing.
yeah.
Have you ever watched one of them?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta watch them. I gotta search it up because it's what they how they explained it was like it looks like weirdly like animalistic of how they're like reaching and growing and
Oh,
like
interesting. Interesting. Yeah, the
Yeah.
grasping urge is what the ancients called that, like plants grasping at the sun and like, but I should watch one too to see the animal, the plant animal. Okay. He says, the capacity for modification appears to be virtually limitless, but few people utilize it to its full potential.
If it's limitless, can you use it to its full potential?
Oh, wow. No,
I'm
but
fact checking it.
that's what kind of what I was saying is I feel like, there's all this the idea that most of us use 10% of our brain, it's like mega manifestation theory is trying to get you to use all of your brain or all of your potential, you know. So we
Yeah.
kind of do look at this is to maximize the neuroplastic, like use of neuroplasticity in mega manifestation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about the 10,000 hour rule. He says the 10,000 hour rule was popularized by Malcolm Gladwell and suggests that the great talents of people like Albert Einstein, Bill Gates, and the Beatles are not simply the innate gifts they are assumed to be. They can be understood as the result of many hours of development, often following around 10,000 hours. This is true of even seemingly supernatural abilities. So what do you think of this? What happens at 10,000 hours?
Oh, according to his theory, is like you cannot master something until you've put in like that much amount of time, and that's kind of like some like a guideline for being really awesome at things.
Hmm.
And I think it's true. I think this goes back to, when people ask kids like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Which I've changed my mind about. Like, I used to think that was like an awful thing to ask kids because, like, how do they know? And why are you trying to kind of pigeonhole them into something? But now I understand the intent behind it. It's like what you do for your job oftentimes is how you spend most of your time. And so that's why people that love you want to know what you love doing so that they can guide you into creating a life for yourself in which you have mastery of that thing because you enjoy doing it and you get to spend a lot of time doing it. And then you don't get separated into like, well, this is what I do for work for a paycheck, but this is what I really love. Like we were talking about with Lumiere yesterday.
Interesting. Well, and so I find this one really interesting and just building on what you're saying is, people always think you're born with like the ability, like I was born with the ability to play the piano, like I can play the piano. Well, it's my perseverant interest in playing the piano that has created that genius ability. I mean, people have called it genius, right? Like, I'm not saying I'm a genius, but like, they're like, oh my God, you're a polymath, you're a genius in multiple areas, blah, 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 blah. Well, the thing is I just am a perseverator. Like, I just
Yeah.
have a hyper focused chart that like and the reason I play the piano so much is I can feel auras and so when people get overwhelming I like to sit at the big amp of the piano and cleanse their auras with the frequencies of the piano like or my own aura. It's like I used to come home from high school and weep for 2 hours and play the piano and I did it daily but I was picking up energy all day and then just like playing this piano at the end of the day. So it's that interest in cleansing my spirit that created the technical ability to play beautiful sounds because without those beautiful sounds, I couldn't really cleanse it in the same way. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like, so if you're going to be like an epic auto mechanic, just wrench on cars for 10,000 hours. But it's the perseverant interest in cars that makes you a genius at auto mechanics. It's your perseverant interest in hacking computers that's made you a genius at computing. And so the chart actually shows that we look at like the sole purpose in the chart, we're looking at how the machine is built of the human, how they sense things, and what that sensory apparatus would lead them to want to do, and that shows what genius they will spend 10,000 hours at doing, basically,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there was a job that I worked at a few jobs back, and they were really into this book called Now Discover Your Strengths. And part of it was like saying that you can be like really good at something and or and that be your thing. And then you can also be like not so good at something and you hate doing it. And if like so for example, they were saying like if you're on a team, get a team together that balances each other out. So like if one person is really like bad at giving presentations, like putting on their performance review year after year, like they're awful at giving presentations and they need to work on that is ineffective for the company because they're gonna get like that much better and they're still gonna hate it.
Interesting.
Or you say like, well, this other person on my team is awesome at giving presentations. I'm really good at doing all the research and putting them together. Let's be a team and do it together.
Interesting. Well, like people always want me to like fault charts. Like if they don't have any Virgo in the chart and someone's not very cleanly or they don't like to clean, like people want me to fault them for that. And like you're not very clean. You need to be more clean. And I'm always like hire a cleaner because your chart doesn't clean, right? But I never say like you're deficient in cleaning. I just say you're so proficient in these other things that cleaning doesn't move up your queue. Like basically your chart does not like to clean, nor will it be interested in cleaning because it's so interested in these other things. So I'm with you, like hire out the parts that your chart doesn't do, or have a team where everyone does what their chart is meant to do. And that's some idea of it's not communism where like people get to pay the same amount and then they do all do their job. That would be like something where you all get paid the same amount, but you do what your chart wants to do. And like in that way, the society would be like happen mega manifesting essentially, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that gets complicated.
Yeah, totally. Um, okay. So he says neuroplasticity gives us the ability to gradually improve at things through consistent and sustained effort. So yeah, I'm so into like being a genius is actually being a consistent, sustained effort. People are always like, that's a genius tightrope walker, or that's a genius, monster truck driver. And it's like, they just went out and drove monster trucks every day. Like you didn't,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
doesn't,
yeah. Yeah, I'm with you.
okay. All right. He says the brain is like a sculpture. He says to make ourselves to shape a form from various elements, that is the task. The task of a sculptor, of a productive human being. That's a quote by Friedrich Nietzsche. So I've never thought of the brain like a sculpture, but I mean, we are studying kind of mind control and manifestation, which is kind of the art of sculpting your thoughts as opposed to just letting them go willy-nilly.
Yeah. Well, on that's on the internal perspective, and on the external perspective, it's sculpting the environment around you in which you live by manifesting your desires, right?
Fascinating. I never thought about that, but like you've said numerous times, like what we expose ourselves to is a big part of like life creation, right? So it's like an example of this is I went through a horror phase and I like kept making all these horror puzzles and horror paintings, and I realized my daughter grew big enough to see what was on the walls and I had to tear it all down. And then I started painting angels, and now when you look out at my studio, it's all angels. You want to see them?
Yeah.
You see the angels among the mess, but there's a bunch of angels. But the point
Oh
is,
yeah.
so if I look at angels, I start thinking of angels and angelic things, and that's
Yeah.
part of sculpting the mind, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, sculpting your environment. I guess it's a virtuous cycle,
Oh, that's a good
right?
Magic the Gathering card, virtuous cycle.
Oh yeah.
Enchantment, enchantment. Well, I see what you're saying. It's like expose yourself to something good, then have good thoughts about it. Mind control yourself to good thoughts, make yourself want something good in your environment, and like this virtuous cycle continues.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like writing in your journal your affirmations every day is a virtuous cycle.
Yeah, that's what you're doing. Yeah, I think the mind control of controlling your thoughts is part of this mind sculpting instead of like fading it out and letting your mind think whatever it wants. Forcing certain thoughts to float away on a cloud and be like, no thanks on those thoughts, and then like controlling the thoughts you do like, or attaching to the thoughts you do like is like bonsai treeing the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. What were we calling it? We curation,
Oh
thought
yeah.
curation.
Okay. Yeah, that's so much more PC than thought controller. I was looking up mind control books today, and there's like books on psychological warfare and stuff like that. But it's just like that's like the warrior side of mental curation is like mind control.
Yeah. It sounds so battling, control, right? And
Hmm.
like curation sounds like it just happens naturally. There's a natural overabundance, and you just pick the ones that are the most awesome out of them.
Yeah, totally. How do you think that your life has changed since we started doing thought curation?
Oh, well, I've definitely gotten more peaceful and at ease, and yeah,
Mhm.
things definitely just are more smooth. What about you?
I think I have a smooth easiness at functioning at a really high level because like a lot of my thoughts have been like take it further, take it further, take it further, but like now my baseline is to function like at this like CEO level, but before I was like climbing up or something like that, but like I feel I don't know. I feel like it's changed my whole entire world, honestly. From like I remember when I quit drinking, I was writing in these notebooks like don't drink. You know, I was like mind controlling myself out of wanting to drink, and now it's all like go do lectures at this place and go to like it's just like I keep going higher and higher through this mind control thing. Um but I don't know, but it feels like just as easy of a day. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel any harder, I guess you could say.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay, the act of deliberately reprogramming your own psychological operating system includes breaking bad habits and rebuilding an entire worldview. That's what I just said I did. I broke the bad habits of drinking and smoking and then like rebuilt an entire worldview. Um, do you think you can have like, do you think that this psychitecture would start off on breaking someone of all their bad habits?
Well, it's interesting phraseology because like breaking someone of their bad habits, that sounds like kind of like on the control side of things too, right? Like, so it be like guiding them into easy ways, easy tweaks to make so that things come out better or with more intent.
Hmm,
I'm just thinking ahead to their his like algorithm, if this then that, and then how you kind of like put a little pressure to change something in kind of like a Aikido kind of way, right? Like the energy is going anyway and you just divert it a little.
interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I do think that if you're gonna become like a mind curator, the first thing to do is trash, dump the trash, which is like we were just talking about this before we went on air. It's like get rid of all the trash thoughts, like I need a cigarette, I need a cigarette, I need a cigarette, I need a cigarette. It's just like, oh, it's like a trash thought, you know? Or like, I need another drink, I need another drink. It's just like that's holding you back from a million thoughts you could be having.
Yeah, yeah, I see it.
Okay. Now we're back to the cognitive, emotional, and behavior realm. Remember, he was like, there's three parts to the mind.
Oh
Or
yeah,
three,
I
two.
feel like I didn't explain it very well last time either. But anyway, so here's cognitive is the upper triangle, behavioral is this triangle, and emotional is this triangle. And then psychitecture is the big white connecting thing in the middle. And that's the format of the book to go through them methodically.
Okay, he's saying the cognitive realm deals with beliefs and biases, introspection, and wisdom. So the cognitive mind realm is kind of like what we believe and what we think about things already. And what we like changing your belief. Like if you believe God, the concept of God is here to support and aid you, then maybe that will change how you engage the concept of God, which will change your brain.
Yeah, cognitive is using your thinking and reasoning abilities.
Okay. And then the emotional realm will deal with coping mechanisms, feelings, and desires. So,
Well, I think behavioral is next. Where is it? I don't
no,
know.
it says the emotional realm will deal with coping,
Emotional is
feelings,
next.
and then the behavior realm will look at actions, temptations, and habits.
Oh, okay. There. I see. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Emotional coping mechanisms, feelings, and desires.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's the cognitive thing is like you reframe things instead of acting necessarily emotionally with your emotional reactions.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then, so that's why it's first. And then emotional is next, because that's still in the non-physical realm.
Hmm.
And then behavioral is in the physical realm, what you do and how you act. Hmm.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Okay. So then he refers to Descartes, where he says he's making a letter to Princess Elizabeth, and he says cognitive is he says use reason for its highest purpose to evaluate and judge the best possible course of action as free as possible from passion and bias. So it's like yesterday we are talking about ethics and all that kind of stuff. It's like you'd use your noggin to kind of decide what, your how your brain should be shaped and in what ways for what reasons, maybe.
Yeah, I think clearly is kind of the mantra for that.
Okay. So, and sometimes you and I help carve each other's mind, cognitive of like what should we be manifesting. We kind of like chip away at each other's mental beliefs until we get a really good idea, and then we go manifesting that with our behaviors and emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do have to say, Andy, like, I think until we quit smoking and drinking, not to really harp on that this episode, but really, until we quit smoking and drinking, we wouldn't have been able to think clearly enough to do the manifestation.
Yeah, no. All I could manifest was like the next cigarette. Like it was just such a waste of a life, like honestly.
Yeah. So I understand why they say getting clean and clear. Like
Yeah.
we had to improve our cognitive abilities as our first step, and that's what we did.
Yeah, totally. Um, okay, so the behavior one, he says, have an unwavering will for executing whichever actions were judged to be best. So this makes a lot of sense. It's like if you decide that it's best for you to get row on your rowing machine that you got, like behavioral would be having the will to actually sit on the rowing machine and row.
Yeah.
Okay. And then emotionals understand that beyond clear reasoning and resolved will, everything is outside one's power and should be no cause for stress or regret. So he's like having good emotions as you're manifesting, basically, or as you're doing your thing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's funny. Those last two, the behavioral and emotional, are seem to be those two sides of the will coin, right? Uh the will to take action where you should, and the whatever it is to let go of things that you cannot control.
God grant me the strength to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
All right, the what to accept?
Accept the courage to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot
All
change.
right, serenity to accept. So maybe serenity to accept is emotional.
Okay.
Courage to change is behavioral.
Oh, interesting.
And wisdom to know the difference is cognitive.
Oh my
It also fits the
God.
three.
Oh my God.
Yeah, all right.
All right. Okay, so we're going to be breaking down those three cognitive, behavioral, emotional throughout this book. And now we move on to algorithm. He's saying that the brain is like an algorithm, which can be defined as a step-by-step procedure for solving a problem or accomplishing some end. So you were saying that the brain is like an algorithm, like you put input in, and then everyone has a different algorithm step by step, and then spits out something from that. And this book is to change your algorithms that you don't like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
He
to
says,
optimize them into things that you think would serve you better.
okay. So he says the solutions that default also algorithms provide the solution, but the solutions these default algorithms provide are actually the source of most of our psychological problems today. What do you mean by that? Like the solutions these default algorithms cause problems.
Oh yeah, it's you see your partner uh spending time with someone else at a party and you get jealous. That's like the default algorithm. And then you act in a certain way because of that. Then it's like it's that's I think the part like the one way you can choose is like to reframe that. Like you see your partner spending time with someone else at a party and you're like, wow, that's awesome because then, they get to shine and I'm really happy they do and they get to meet someone new and maybe that person will be interesting in both our lives or, whatever.
Yeah, interesting. So you're saying like we get like almost like default system ways of thinking that don't work for us, we're going to change those in this book.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, it says our goal is not freedom from the algorithms that make up our minds, but the autonomy to transform algorithms that don't serve us. We must learn to think about our psychological problems algorithmically.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Oh my God. So we're just gonna look at our brain like a system computer. You probably love that. You're gonna hack the brain.
Yeah, we both are. We all are
Okay.
gonna hack our brains together.
Okay. Brain hacker.
Yes.
All right. Our emotions are mechanically generated by automatic thoughts, which can be restructured. So I want to restart. I have an algorithm I want to restructure.
Okay. Tell me.
I don't like lateness because like I algorithmically just like go into like time is a respect issue, time is a power choice. Like this person's like trying to like gain power over me. Like I don't know, my Scorpio doesn't like it. I just like when we both show up at the same time for it's like like I don't know, like when both people show up at the same time, my algorithm doesn't get triggered. And so
Hmm.
I would love to like restructure my lateness algorithm.
Okay.
Do you have an algorithm you want to restructure?
Um, oh gee, I will have to think about this for a minute. Yeah, I'll have to come back to it.
Okay. But for anyone who's watching, think about what algorithms you want to change, as you're listening to this series. It's like, and you can type in the chat too, well, what algorithms do you want to change? Because it'd be good to have some concrete examples.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. All
Okay.
right, I'll think of a good one for next time.
Okay. So he said that Aristotle viewed a person as the sum of their habits. And he said the aggregate of all of his habits was his character. Which I feel like astrology understands this. Like we understand people as an aggregate of different personality characteristics, and all of them together creates your constant influxing character.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, right? Like, think about it of any like friend or family member or someone you know at school or someone you know from your job or whatever, someone neighbor. Like, it's the ways that they act and interact with you over the course of time that builds up your mental model of that person.
Yeah. So there's some of these habits, what Aristotle called character, we call software. So we're going to become the architect of our own character. So we can call the chart our intellectual software or our alchemical software. I
Oh
do
yeah.
think charts are like computer programs, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like inputs and outputs. Like when you have, oh, then we get to the free will discussion again. When you, a certain life situation happens to a person with a certain chart, the input is the life situation. It goes through this person and their, I guess cognitive, emotional, and behavioral software, and then is output as a certain reaction that they take in the physical world.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like your chart shows like how you react to, yeah, like if you put 10 people in the same context, their chart would kind of show their reaction, their algorithmic software reaction to that context or, kind of thing. Like Mercury is a good example. Like if somebody has a Mercury Uranus and you give them a sentence, they'll trip on that sentence and make new ideas from it. If they have a Mercury Jupiter, they'll trip on that sentence and start talking a lot. If they have a Mercury Saturn, they'll think about that sense and be quiet. So I feel like even Mercury is a good example of like how you'll algorithmically respond to even like verbal stimuli.
Hmm. Yeah, right on. That's cool.
So we're going to become architects of our own character, and I feel like this is like it applies to astrological remediation because we look at like how to change your software, your chart. It's like people think the chart's fated, but we could say it's your software that you're running, but we can reprogram your software.
Yeah, so maybe your chart's more like the operating system, and then the software example is more like the application that runs on top of it.
Okay, interesting, interesting. Okay, so he says Kaizen is a Japanese term often used in business, meaning continued change for the better, an ongoing endeavor for incremental optimization. This is like the flywheel effect where you're saying you spiral upwards. That's like Kaizen.
Yeah, Kaizen is like in like now modern software development is like the way that you do things iteratively and you deliver the minimal viable product, which is like a small thing, and then get feedback on how that is going so far, and then you adjust a little bit and then add the next layer, and you just keep doing that. All the while like building iteratively and incorporating the feedback loops for improvement in every step. So yeah, like you're saying, the spiral, instead of going around in circles, you're spiraling because each one is better.
Well, and astrologically, in symbolic substitution, where we try to substitute activities that the chart would like, we try them out and see how it works, and then we get a little bit better, and we try a little bit. It's like you should be transiting upwards instead of just transiting in a circle, right? Like you should be getting better and better and better through the transits. I love that idea.
Yeah, and that's why you advise to people to like watch the moon as it cycles around each month, because each month is like another opportunity for another experiment to try something, see how this works. It's like to intentionally live through each day in transit rather than just letting those opportunities go by.
Astro Kaizen, Astro
That's
Kaizen.
that's good.
Sarcasm. Okay, so let's stop on page 27 where he says, when utilized persistently, it can take a mind that is like a prison and gradually transform it into a palace. I've noticed you're in a palace right now.
Oh yes, this is the palace of my prison.
So I feel like, maybe you were in prison, but now you're in a palace and that you're a standing example of what could be.
Oh, absolutely. I was in a prison and then I realized that the door was unlocked. So I opened it and let myself out.
Whoa, whoa. All right. Well, thank you for taking on this journey of Astro Kaizen.
Yeah, excellent. All right, we're up to page 27 to be continued.
All right, Jay-Z, I'll see you at 5:30, 8:30 for
All
the
right.
Astro
Yeah.
Forum. I
See you
love
soon.
you.
Bye. I love you.
All right.